Hello, everybody. How are we feeling today? Amazing. Are we hungry? It's 12 o'clock already, so I guess you're all very hungry. But okay, I'll try to wrap it up fast so we can all have lunch and we can have fun for the rest of our day. Can I get another round of applause, please? It all started in 2020 as I was just stepping in high school. I got the offer to be the president of a public speaking club I was a part of. And like anyone who have received these kinds of offers and invitation, I was hesitant. Besides from the fact that the role of being a president is already very intimidating itself, the club's reputation at the time also freaked me out. I needed to gain more experiences in leadership, as well as to familiarize myself with the overall concept of school clubs. And my mom has been, and is still now, a biggest inspiration to me. And so I asked her for advice. And I told her many worries of mine that I may not be enough, I may not be a good fit for this spot, that I may not be able to fulfill the duty that I was supposed to do. And so she sat there quietly and listened to me ranting about roughly an hour. And that 1 hour, I just kept talking like I always do in all conversations. And after I finished talking, she just smiled at me and told me the story of her life. My mother was born in Thanh Hoa, a province located in northern central Vietnam. Her parents were ordinary farmers who lived in one of the poorest villages at the time. And she grew up having to worry if she could afford food every day, or if she could go to school the day after. After finishing grade 6, she thought to herself, this is not the life that I wanted. And her only dream was to overcome poverty. And that led her to the decision to move to Hanoi. Going with her was not just herself. There were dozens of village girls going to Hanoi with the same hopes and dreams of changing their lives. Life in Hanoi was, and it's now still isn't easy for anyone. And my mom had to work multiple jobs to feed her family, to feed herself, and later on be the breadwinner for her family. And there were times that she almost fell out of the bicycle that she was riding because of sleep deprivation. Why? Because her day started at 3 or 4 in the morning and ended at 12 at midnight. She wanted to go home. She wanted to quit. Anyone in those situations would quit. For a very young 13-year-old teenage girl from a countryside moving to a big city all by herself. And so she understood her responsibilities for her family. Because if not for anyone like her, no one would change. And so she also realized that the moment that she gets back to her hometown, her family circumstances will never change. Nothing will change. And the hardships that she endured during the time in Hanoi will result in nothing. And suddenly, she also realized that the only way to be her own person and to keep going and to be richer was to keep studying. And she continued her education and later on get a bachelor degree in journalism. And please congratulate my mom because that is how she has become a successful journalist, a business owner, and an independent woman. And that's the most important thing. And now, sadly, she's not here because she is going in a Europe trip and she is gonna be here by 2 p.m. So please congratulate her for such an amazing transformation. Thank you. Mom, you'll be watching. Yeah, and so after she finished her story, I just sat there quietly, alone, all by myself. And I thought to myself, what was her point? What was she trying to tell me by telling me the story of her life? And I barely survived during that 1 week that I took to reply to the offer on a heavily foggy mind. But my intuition kept telling me to say, yes, yes, yes. I couldn't and still now don't understand why it kept pushing me to dangerous waters. But my gut has never let me down before. And so I trusted it and said, yes. And before we get to the dramatic stuff, please first congratulate me once again, because that is how I officially became the president of Eloquentia Club, Vin School official public speaking club. And that was a home that I slept in, eaten in, and thought about for not just 1, but 2 years straight. And my reign as president was incredible and incredibly challenging. At first, during the training sessions, I had many visions of what I wanted to do and the community that I wanted to build. And as you may say, that was the honeymoon stage. Everything went smoothly. I even bonded really well with all the core team who were older than me, which I thought was impossible because I was so young and I was a leader. How could I be able to be friends with everyone? But turns out I did. I was friends with everyone. And I thought to myself, oh yes, this is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I thought of my dream to be. And like in all great movies, there's a knot. Here comes a problem, and everything escalated quickly. The pressure and the stress came from both external and internal. But the internal fight was much scarier. Though I was a person who was very confident of his communication skills, I doubted my abilities to give constructive and effective comments to the members. Worst, I was worried, I was scared that I might not be able to build a close and tight-knit community that a school club is supposed to be. I doubted myself a lot. And for the first time, I cried about work. Have anyone here cried about work? Let me see, let me count. There are many hands. Thank you very much. That means that teenagers and adults these days have to face a lot of pressure in work so that they cry. I cried too, but looking back, it was fine. But back then, it was not fine at all. I was really stressed. But then, I realized my responsibility as a leader and as a president. If I quit now, then that is the end. The end to my unfinished reign, the end to all the hard work that I put in, and the end to all the sacrifices that I've made to be in this position. And so I thought, enough was enough. It was time to take action. It was time to stop overthinking, stop doubting myself. It was time to think less and do more. That's why I contacted some of my colleagues and my trusted friends for advice. Some gently reassured me and some slapped me right in the face so that I can come back to reality. And one thing that they taught me that is really important was to look at problems not from a perspective of an insider with anxiety, but as an outsider with a rational thoughts. In fact, that helped me a lot. I started to do better reflections, and I asked myself more questions, and eventually, problems are not big piles of stuff anymore. They were sorted pieces put into different boxes waiting to be fixed one by one. And looking back now, I am very proud of myself. Not by all these amazing numbers and all these fancy numbers on the screen that you're seeing, but because I chose to be a part of something bigger than myself. I chose to be a part of a person that strived to excellence. I was part of a bigger change for everyone, and I was a part of a big change of such a big community. And so these stories by my mother and I are vastly different, with vastly different problems. But there are two common takeaways. The first one is to be daring, and the second one is to be consistent. And let me take you on a trip and tell you why those are key. When you are daring, you accept anything that goes to you, even if it's bad, even if it's good. And you're not really scared of it. And being daring is very important in such ways that it has helped me and my mom to overcome our difficulties. Most people who have yet to succeed in pushing their limits waste time overthinking about different scenarios in their heads. They're scared of failing. But I ask all of you here, why are we scared of failing? We as humans are imperfect and we have many limitations. And failing is just a part of life. And to fail means that you have tried. But a lot of people are scared to try. In my mom's story, I understood that her problems and her struggles were no different from many parents in this room. A lot of people came from very poor backgrounds. And even though she might not be the first person who ever thought of leaving her hometown to go to a big city, but she dared to turn thoughts into action. She could have stayed in the countryside, compromising her needs and happiness, but she didn't. She was dared enough to pave the way for her brothers and sisters, and later on me and my little brother who is staying here in the theater today. And that taught me tremendously. Inspired by her courage, I took on the legacy by accepting the offer, knowing that I still have many flaws. But I thought, if not now, then when? If I had not taken the chance, would I have been able to have all those amazing, challenging, and life-altering experiences? Would I have ever met all the people that I've met or learned all the lessons that I've learned in those 2 amazing years? I think we all know the answer to that. Or do you? Do you know the answer to that? Is it a yes or a no? No? No or yes? Bigger? Okay, thank you. It's a no, of course. So being daring is basically just means to trust in possibilities during adversities, or to try. And in order to do this, you need to do 3 steps. These are the 3 most important steps. The first one is to carefully analyze all your choices. The second is to be willing to sacrifice. And the last one is to seek help from people. Talking about the first one, choices. We all have choices, and during adversities, we have choices. We have the choice to break free from our family, to be our own person. We have the choice to go to another country, to go abroad, and to make a living, and to go study. We have a choice to talk to that person that we like so much, but we haven't had the courage to do. But it's all the matter of choice. We all have choices, but during adversities, we thought that we think that we don't have any choices. But first, to be daring, you need to understand that you have choices. And when you carefully analyze this, you have to understand all the struggles and all the failures that you may pass by in your way, in your journey. Because when you just look at the pink picture, when you just look at the bright side, you don't see any bad things that's going to happen to you. You're going to be miserable when you're in the journey. But when you have understood all the struggles that you may have, then it will be better, I guarantee. And after you have understood all the sacrifices that you have to make, then you need to seek help from the people whose experiences are similar to you. Why? Because you cannot ask a farmer how to run a business, and you cannot ask a business owner how to raise a beautiful garden like a farmer. That's just a matter of who you're speaking to and who you think are suitable for you to ask for help. But do ask for help, because if you're all alone in this journey, then it's gonna be hard. You're gonna get there, but it's gonna be hard and it's gonna be so much longer. All right? So if you want to be faster in your journey, then please do that. And the second one, also very important, is to be consistent. Being consistent requires you to do a lot. It requires discipline. Discipline in work and discipline in emotion regulating. In my mom's story, circulating back to her story, as I have said to everyone, she wasn't the only one going to Hanoi at the time. But what's remarkable about her story is that she was the only one who stayed. And that proved consistency. There were times that she wanted to go home, yes. There were hardships, but she stayed. And in my own story, I could have the choice, talking about choices again, I could have the choice to resign and quit everything. But we both understand that during those situations, the only way to keep going is to keep pushing. To keep pushing and to pass through all the struggles that we may have with grace. And what I want to tell you today is a lesson, not a lesson, but a message about emotion regulating. You cannot choose your emotions. You can feel anxious, you can feel sad, you can feel mad, you can feel angry, like Dick Min said, or you can feel like you don't want to be someone big, like Ngọc Linh have said. But what you can do is that you can choose your thoughts and emotions. Sorry, you can choose your thoughts and your behaviors, because everything will have results when you actually take action. Every emotion is just in your head. But what you choose to do and what you chose to say is what's gonna have an effect in your life. And so that being said, it means that being consistent can help you to push forward. Neither my mom nor I knew what's gonna happen next. And we failed tremendously in the way in our path. And there are mistakes that we have made in our journey. And there are struggles that we have gone through. But when we start to forget and forgive ourselves for making mistakes, you'll be motivated again to keep going. And that's another thing that is really important about emotion regulating, to forgive yourself with your mistakes. We are all different with different constraints and different problems in our lives. But to be better and to be a better version of ourselves is seemingly a common goal among all of us. And that being said, to be able to do that, you need to break free from the barrier, from the glass ceiling of your own thoughts. And there are two keynotes to bear. The first one is to be daring, and the second one is to be consistent. Being daring opens you up to opportunities and propels you to take first steps. But hard work, consistency, and trust in the process, and forgiveness also, will keep you going. And now, with my ending, I want to tell you that the apple doesn't fall far from its tree. Our parents walked so we could run. And so I hope that everyone here understood your responsibility and your chance and your opportunity to let your future children fly. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.